One of the most difficult things to handle as an audio engineer is ambient noise. Wherever you go, it's there and there's nothing much you can do about it. But with a proper denoiser plugin, you can actually take what to most ears can sound like an unsalvageable recording and make it sound like it was recorded in a professional recording studio, just like this one. So what we have in front of us today is a plugin called the Waves Clarity VX Pro, and in my opinion, it's one of the easiest to use and most effective denoiser plugins on the market. So let's take a look at what this thing is capable of. Once you finish the video, I'm going to invite you to take a look at the description box where you'll find a link to a list of audio post-production plugins that have been specifically curated by me to help you tackle on all the projects that are coming your way with absolute confidence. And if you aren't already subscribed to the Decibel Peak newsletter, you'll automatically be enrolled to receive news, updates, and offers in regards to the online trainings that we offer. All right, now let's get into the video and find out what the Waves Clarity VX Pro is truly capable of. All right, so we got a Pro Tools session loaded up with the audio example that we're gonna be using for the purposes of this demonstration. And as you can see, I have the Waves Clarity VX Pro loaded up. And before getting into the audio example and listening to it unprocessed, I just want to go over the plugin and how it works. So Waves calls it, neural networks, but actually what you have access to is 4 algorithms that have been trained, I guess, in different ways. And it's not really like real AI in the sense that it's happening in real time, but the plugin will adapt itself to what it listens to. So make sure to have it listen to some audio before committing to anything. And that's what this refresh button is over here. It basically refreshes the algorithm. So it, when it listens to new things. In the advanced controls, you can actually automate this by clicking auto, but we're not going to get into that just yet. So let's listen to this example dry without any processing and see what needs to be done. All right, so this is a test recording of, as you can hear, some mild traffic right outside my studio. And yeah, so let's see if we can remove some of this noise with the Waves Clarity VX plugin. So yeah, that's a pretty unfavorable scenario, and there is lots of noise to remove. So it was actually recorded right next to the street. It was on an iPhone as well, so we don't get the advantage of a shotgun microphone, already doing some of that isolation for us. So this is one of the worst case scenarios. So if the sound recordist allowed this to happen, it would not be a good call on his or her part. So let's get into algorithm number 1, which is broad 1. And let's max it out and see what we get from just turning one knob on. So let's see what this sounds like. All right, so this is a test recording of, as you can hear, some mild traffic right outside my studio. And yeah, so let's see if we can remove some of this noise with the Waves Clarity VX plugin. So yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, honestly, I didn't hear almost a single thing that was considered noise in there, but it did deteriorate the voice a little bit. So yeah, if you're listening to it on good headphones, you would hear this. If you're listening to it on a smartphone or something, you're probably like, wow, this is amazing. But no, in reality, like, there's still some work to be done here. It's not too bad though. Like, honestly, like, if there was some ambience on top of this, maybe some music, if it was like some corporate video or something, this would most likely be enough. But let's go ahead and listen to the broad 1 high frequency algorithm, which is a bit less aggressive in the high frequencies. So it might help our situation in regards to the quality of the voice, but I get the feeling like we're going to be hearing a little bit of the traffic in this one. So let's see what that sounds like.
All right, so this is a test recording of, as you can hear, some mild traffic right outside my studio. And yeah, so let's see if we can remove some of this noise with the Waves Clarity VX plugin.
Yeah, the voice sounds a lot better, but like I said, we do hear some of the traffic poking in now. So see, there's you gotta try different things. And honestly, if you wanted to get really like deep into this, you can actually denoise, you can make copies and render them and kind of like layer them if you feel like, and mix them together and stuff. But that's just like some advanced audio restoration stuff. So like that's not what we're going to get into this video, but there are lots of possibilities when it comes to dialogue editing. So Broad 2, from what, I've been using this plugin a lot. I mean, I only use it 90% of the time. Broad 2 to me sounds like it's just the most aggressive algorithm on this list. So let's listen to what it sounds like with this guy.
All right, so this is a test recording of, as you can hear, some mild traffic right outside my studio. And yeah, so let's see if we can remove some of this noise with the Waves Clarity VX plugin.
Yeah, this one is pretty good too. I mean, compared to Broad 1, the voice more or less still sounds intact. And it's kind of like a good middle ground between Broad 1 and Broad 1 high frequency. But still, it's still not perfect in certain circumstances. So let's go ahead and try the last one, which is Broad Eco. And that is actually, this one reduces the load on the CPU because this is a pretty CPU intensive plugin. So if you had a couple of these running, you would eventually run out of processing power depending on your machine. So anyways, Broad Eco, let's listen to this one.
All right, so this is a test recording of, as you can hear, some mild traffic right outside my studio. And yeah, so let's see if we can remove some of this noise with the Waves Clarity VX plugin.
Yeah, this one's pretty good too. It's close to Broad 2. It's not that different, so but I still feel like Broad 2, if we were comparing these two, I would go with Broad 2 for this example. So let's go ahead and do this, but actually I'm gonna select Broad 1. I'm gonna explain why in just a minute. Okay, let's load up the advanced controls, but before we get into that, another thing that will help this plugin work more efficiently, because it's nice to be able to slap it on a track and you think the work's done, but reality, like the reason you want to have a professional working on this is because the dialogue itself should be edited before denoising, and then the denoiser will just make it that much better. So we could already get a lot of work done just with dialogue editing, and I'm going to show you an example of that. So let's say we pick a specific line like this one.
As you can hear, some.
Okay. So if I just zoom in a little bit over here, a little bit too much. Where are we? Okay, perfect. So Command E, and I'm gonna do Command E over here. Okay, we're gonna have a fade in, a fade out there. And here we're gonna just do a little fade in like this. Like this. This is like a little mini dialogue editing crash course, but obviously this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you would like a course on dialogue editing, drop me a comment and I'd be more than happy to start working on that if there's enough interest for it. But right now, let's just stick to the basics. So let's say we just want to target this one.
As you can hear, some.
Okay. So let's go ahead and work with this. Now, I did Broad 1, and as you can see, I already have the auto button pressed for the refreshing of the algorithm. Now, what we have access to is also the sensitivity, so we can, by default, it's set to normal, but now we can make it even higher. So if we want even more of an aggressive noise reduction, in this case, let's see what it sounds like.
As you can hear, some.
Okay, we still hear some noise. I mean, there's certain things you're not going to be able to get around. Like that's just reality. You at some point you have to call it, you know, if it needs to be re-recorded in post-production, which we refer to as ADR, sorry, automatic dialogue replacement. Like there are situations where it's less time consuming and actually more cost efficient to do that. But let's say we don't have the option. This is what we got to work with. Let's take a look at this reflections knob. So you can consider this somewhat of a release knob. So the higher it is, the more noise, you know, it'll just kind of leave a little bit of the noise. So it's a little bit more natural. I don't like to set this too high. Like, let's just listen to it with it at, let's say, I don't know, around here.
As you can hear some,
See, it's letting a little bit more of it pass through if I put it really high.
as you can hear some,
It's almost like it's not even working now. So very low.
as you can hear some,
Just to make it sound more plausible, but in this case, see the reason I picked broad one and I wanted to do this with it because it would probably clean up a little bit the where it's deteriorating. But that being said, I think I want to go back to broad two. And you know, like I said, so we're not working with a very ideal scenario here, which is completely the point. Now you have this, which is the master knob for all these guys up here, and you could think of this as a multi-band, like kind of like a multi-band compressor, but instead of compression, it's denoising. So you have your different bands over here, frequency bands.
as you can hear,
So let's say I just wanted to, like now they're all maxed out, but let's say I wanted to let just the high frequencies poke through. I would just do this.
as you can hear some,
See,
as you can hear,
depending on what you're listening to it on, you either hear it or you don't, but you hear like that little sizzle of the high frequencies. Maybe you'll hear this one a bit more.
as you can hear some,
So, and in what you see over here, what's in purple is what this plugin detects as dialogue, and what's gray is what it detects as noise.
as you can
So
hear
see
some,
all the gray, that's the noise. And now you're probably wondering why this knob actually goes the other way. It can actually go remove the dialogue and just preserve the ambience, but I don't recommend using this, and you're gonna hear why. Not only does it sound absolutely atrocious, but I don't even couldn't imagine a scenario where you might want to do this. So let's just keep it as a denoiser. And as you see, if you don't denoise 100%, you get access to a knob over here, which is the ambience gate. So this, if your denoising is too aggressive and it sounds a bit unnatural, you can actually let some of it in. So let's say I do this.
as you can hear some,
So you know what I mean? So then you can put like a room tone or an ambience on top and it'll sound like more plausible. Because in this case, you're just reducing the noise. You're not completely eliminating it.
as you can hear some,
So you see it sounds a little bit more natural in that sense. So now what you can do with this is you can actually tweak the ambience. You know, you have a release and an attack down here. You have your threshold. So basically you're mixing, at this point you're mixing ambience with what it detects as dialogue, which at the end of the day gives you better results. So you can really get granular with all of these settings. We're not going to do that now because like I said, it's a big job, it's a big topic, but this was the general overview of the plugin. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Now, in regards to pricing and how you can get access to this, there is a free trial you can have access to at any point if you just want to test it out. If you buy it outright, which is what I did, luckily I got it on sale. I think it was like 60% off when I bought it. But it's like, otherwise it's like $600, which is a whoa, you know, but it's definitely worth that. It's just that you can get access to this and a bunch of other Waves plugins, including the D-Reverb plugin, which I highly recommend, covered in another video as well, for $30 a month, about, if I'm not mistaken, using the Creative Bundle from Waves. So that's just like a subscription model, and in my opinion, if I could go back in time, I would just do that. And you get access to some pretty damn industry standard sounding plugins. And you know, these two are in that list in the description box. They're included in there. So remember to check that out once this video is done. I guarantee that you're going to find some plugins in there that you're not already using if you're into post-production, but it will significantly enhance your workflow if you're using all of the plugins I recommend. So yeah, just a reminder to check that out. But other than that, we're done for today. So I hope that you enjoyed the video and that you learned a little something. Actually, last thing I want to mention, since this plugin is really CPU intensive, what you want to get into the habit of doing is, let's say you like this.
As you can hear
Sorry. You want to actually start bouncing your clips are in place, or in Pro Tools, it's called commit. So you right click and hold on, let's see if I can get this where you can see it. So you click this commit button, and right now it's on this other monitor. So this is what pops up, and it'll create another track. It'll render basically that segment in place. And once you're done doing that to your track, you can actually disable the Waves Clarity VX. So that way you know like what you like is what you'll get, because it might have variations depending if you hit this refresh button or depending on what it listened to. So that's why I prefer isolating lines of dialogue and working on that. And obviously it's a lot more time consuming, but even if you were going to do it on the entire track, just do it. It'll save you some CPU instead of having like 20 of these running and then you just got, your Pro Tools session crashes or something. So yeah, last quick tip there, but yeah, so we're done. So make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you like these audio plugin demos and want to see more. We've also got lots of tutorials, tips and tricks coming up. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.